Douglas, te dejamos. It's your time.
Well, thank you very much. Firstly, I'd just like to say it's a real privilege to be able to address the summit, and apologies, I will be doing it in English. My Spanish isn't really quite up to it. I'm from Cape Town in South Africa, and one thing that really has struck me is the similarities between Santiago and Cape Town, two beautiful cities surrounded by mountains.
Wine.
I was about to mention the wines, yes, with lots of wine very close by sort of thing. So it's really a privilege to be here. My background is civil engineering. I spent 25 years in transportation, the large part of that focusing on transportation systems. And I think smart transport systems and smart cities go together, obviously. One thing that strikes me, just listening to the panel discuss and present this morning, is urbanization challenges are common across the world. They are so similar in South Africa. Slight differences. I think we have different challenges specifically to what you have here in Chile, but the language, the content, the discussion is very similar to the discussion we're having in South Africa at the moment. The environment is obviously very important. Congestion. I think funding is a major issue within smart cities, is how do we provide mobility to give access to economic opportunities. Balancing private and public needs, public transport, private mobility is a major problem. I think especially in emerging economies or maturing economies where car ownership levels are increasing quite dramatically. As you've mentioned, it's seen as to some extent a status symbol, certainly in South Africa, a status symbol to drive your private vehicle, but it does damage the environment. It does create problems in terms of urban mobility. So those are major challenges. One area which also felt worthwhile focusing on is safety. A smart city is a safe city. I think that's a very important thing. And figures quoted around the world, between perhaps as high as 5% of GDP is lost in respect of road traffic accidents. I think the figure here in Chile is about 1.5%. South Africa, it's probably closer to 3%. And in countries where growth is very important, this has a major impact. So a lot of smart transport systems do focus on improving safety. That's safety in all forms in terms of mobility. One of the key areas is obviously road safety. Systems there that are emerging is the in-vehicle safety systems. We've seen that technology moving ahead in leaps and bounds over recent years, airbags, etc., to protect. I think it's getting a lot smarter now with vehicle-to-vehicle communications, a thing of the very near future. I think vehicle-to-infrastructure and vice versa is an element that we'll see shortly. We've seen examples of vehicle convoys, in other words, following technologies, etc. We've seen examples of adaptive speed control, which would brake vehicles when something occurs. One other area which I think is worthwhile discussing is actually road safety from an enforcement perspective. An interesting statistic coming out of the UK, but supported from South African data, is if you get a speeding fine, in other words, if you are a speeding motorist, you have a threefold increased likelihood that you'll be involved in accidents. And I think putting some smartness into the way we manage road safety is a very important facet of a smart city. So I think smart cities are safe cities, and that's an area that we can focus on. Thank you.